Most people that play Destiny 2 consider resilience the worst of the 3 class stats, but I'm not so sure. Titans are defensive juggernauts, and their class ability along with their class stat makes their defenses even stronger. For today's video, we're going to explore resilience and the Titan's Barricade to see how we can play around it in PvE. Let's get started. Alright, today's going to be an interesting video. We are going to deep dive into the resilience stat and the Titan Barricade and see what it can function like when we push it to its extremes. I want to see just how strong the Barricade can be and just how influential it can be in moment-to-moment gameplay when we go absolutely bonkers with it. So you'll notice straight away that I have tier 10 resilience. This is increasing my shield capacity by 13%. And before we go any further, I feel like that percentage should be a bit higher for the PvE side of the game. If I'm going to spend the time to invest in having tier 10 resilience, I want it to feel a little bit better than 13%. But the more influential thing that's going on here is it's reducing my barricade's cooldown to 14 seconds. So this is going to allow me to consistently create cover where there is no cover, but it's also going to allow me to stun enemies that try to push into me if I put up my barricade preemptively. If a goblin is trying to come in for a melee or a minotaur or whatever enemy I'm fighting, it's going to walk through that shield and it's going to get stunned, and I'll be able to focus them down with my abilities or a well-placed grenade. Also, I am going to use a barricade-focused exotic, so I'm going to get a lot more usage out of it because the cooldown is only 14 seconds. We've got on the crest of Alpha Lupi. I generate additional orbs of light from my super, and I cause a healing pulse when my barricade is active. The healing pulse has about a 12-13 meter range, so you do have to be close to your allies if you want them to get hit by it, but if you're using it selfishly like I'm going to use today, I can just pop it whenever I want, don't have to pay attention to positioning, and I'll get a nice chunk of my health and shields back when I do. The last thing I'm going to combo with all of this is the enhanced bomber mod on my class item. Every time I activate my class ability, my barricade, I'm going to get some cooldown reduction on my grenade. Now this is not a grenade focused build, so this is just a little bit extra that's going to come from my barricade activations. The last thing that's going to be noteworthy in our setup today is the high energy fire charged with light mod, because I don't want to accentuate any other abilities. I'm just going to use something that accentuates my gun. While I'm charged with light, I gain bonus weapon damage, and each enemy defeated consumes 1 stack of charged with light. And I'm going to generate these charges with the blast radius mod. I become charged with light by rapidly defeating multiple enemies with a grenade launcher or rocket launcher. I'm going to do it with a grenade launcher at the mountaintop. I grinded for this thing recently, so I want to use it all the freaking time because the grind was kind of annoying. So with that said, we're going to jump into the Insight Terminus and talk through a little bit more about how the barricade can be used in an environment where we are going to be threatened by the enemies. So let's get to it. Alright, we are inside the Insight Terminus, and before we get too deep into the action, I want to showcase one of the most valuable properties of the Barricade, and that's its ability to render enemies unable to fight. So if an enemy walks through your barricade, they're going to take damage, and they're going to be all confused and not fight back until they walk outside of its effect. And that's something that we will be able to take advantage of when enemies push us. If I know where the enemies are going to spawn, which I do for this encounter, I'll be able to use the barricade to my advantage there as well. So we've got a Minotaur pushing up on me. It is going to hit me with its melee, but now it is stunned. I can throw down a grenade to pop his shield, and that's really nice. And as long as this barricade is here, any other Minotaurs that come up and try to push me, they're going to walk through it, they're going to get that stagger effect, and then I can go to work on him. I kind of want an overshield, so I'm going to finish that guy with a melee, put up another barricade, and more enemies walking through it, getting stunned, and then they're going to try and walk away. I'm going to hit them with my bow, make sure they can't get away. So already we're using the defensive properties of the barricade to great effect, and I can stand behind this thing and chill while all these enemies are trying to kill me. No big deal. Feels really good so far. So I totally understand why people feel like the barricade is a bad class ability, because it's not super extravagant, and it does require a little bit of finesse to use it correctly. But when you do take the time to get a more defensive approach to combat, it feels really good to engage with it. And when you can use it every 14 seconds, number one, you can have a 100% uptime on it, because I think the barricade stays active for, I think, 16 seconds before it disappears, or until it's destroyed from damage. So if you have tier 10 resilience, you can just keep putting this thing up constantly, and the enemies can't get through it. If they're not doing enough damage to get through it, that is. Whoops, I cut my reload off a little bit too soon there, but that's okay. With defensive strike, it comes back a little bit faster. So I'm going to throw out a grenade and just put up a barricade so I have some nice cover to deal with these guys. I can kind of peek shoot around it to deal with the enemies. I'm missing a little bit. That's embarrassing, but it's fine. Another pretty obvious benefit to the barricade is I have a mobile cover. Wherever I want to go, I get cover. If I want to take a more advantageous position, I can do that. Now that big old Cabal over there, he is going to destroy the barricade. So I'm going to come over here and just use the normal cover and hit him a couple of times with my arrow. Crest of the Alpha Loopy, going to get my health back so I can continue pressuring this guy and create new cover for myself. There are some missiles coming in. I'm going to let him do that. So, I mean, come on. How can you say the barricade is the worst class ability out of the three? It's so cool to have just a mobile piece of cover. I can walk in and feel comfortable and confident wherever I go. I always have this bit of protection for myself and my teammates if they want to follow me into a precarious situation. And I want to go in and punch this guy to get an overshield. Woof! Took a little bit more damage than I was intending to take there, and maybe I'm getting a bit too brazen. Let's go ahead and use the Crest of the Alpha Loopy to get my health back. This exotic is incredibly... Oh, no, we're not trying to die here. The Crest of the Alpha Loopy is a fantastic exotic armor piece to use with tier 10 resilience if you are looking to optimize your defenses. Oh, the rockets are coming in. I'm just going to stand back here so I don't get blinded. That blinding effect is one of the most annoying things in Destiny 2 from those Cabal Colossus. And if you place the barricade and just crouch behind it, you won't get blinded, and it feels great. Enemies like this that are going to aggressively push forward towards you, they walk through the barricade and they get staggered, and they kind of don't really know what to do. These enemies are pretty brain dead, so they won't even stop their aggressive push. They'll just keep trying to force their way through it, and eventually they will get through, but while they are staggered and unable to fight back, I can pick them off really easily. And, you know, the thing that I'm trying to prove here is not that the other class abilities are bad, or I'm trying to say, oh, Barricade is so good, it's so much better than the other ones. But the point I'm trying to make here is that the Barricade is not nearly as bad as other people make it out to be. And it's most likely because they're not using it to its fullest potential. So right now, there are enemies that spawn out of that particular spot. And I can put down my barricade so that they get stunned when they come out of the spot. And then I can throw a grenade down so they take the full damage of the grenade right as they spawn. So these guys getting stunned up, that's going to make them a really easy target. I'm going to allow me to charge up my bow without having to worry about them firing at me, causing flinch, making me take extra damage. So again, it's a defensive implement. It's something that when used to protect yourself and your teammates, it's really great. And like right here, that gladiator, he's charging in hyper aggressive, and as long as I back away from the barricade after it comes out, I can take advantage of the stagger. So one of the unfortunate things about the barricade is if you use it on reaction to something, you're probably going to get hit. So if I see a Cabal gladiator, or as myself and my fire team and my clan members like to call it, the chef, when we see the chef coming, if I put up my barricade in response to him using his lunging melee attack, I'm going to get hit by it. But if I use it preemptively to establish defenses for myself, he's going to go through it, get staggered, and I'm going to rip him apart with my guns and abilities. And there we go. That's going to do it for the video for today. This one was a little bit on the shorter side, but I think this is a fantastic showcase of the defensive prowess that you gain when you invest into resilience and actively use your barricade to stop incoming enemy fire, to stagger enemies that are pushing through onto you. It's a phenomenal tool when you use it and place it correctly. So the next time you hear somebody saying, oh, the barricade is trash, it's not good at all, resilience is a wasted stat, then you probably have to question if the person is using the barricade to its fullest potential. So with all of that said, we're going to wrap things up here, but don't worry, there's plenty more Destiny 2 content coming in the future, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to support the channel more than you already do just by watching, liking, subscribing, and commenting, you can head over to patreon.com/iBluairJgR to become a patron. As always, the name of the game is Destiny 2, the name of the channel is iBluairJgR. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.